Welcome back to the Bourbon and BS podcast, everyone. This is episode 299, and it is January 2024. Happy New Year, fellas.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year.
New Year, Shawn still forgets talking to the mic.
That's all right. New you, same.
I'll learn eventually.
Wait, New Year, same you. We apologize about our tardiness. I'm going to apologize in advance if we get cut out here a little bit, but this is what we're dealing with. I'll explain later. Hopefully we have decent internet signal here, but bear with us. If we go dark, we'll be back. So, but yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. Happy New Year, everyone. Want to thank Ray Chester's out there, Lou's out there. Thank you guys for tuning in. Share, like, review, comment, all that good stuff. Join the conversation. And hope you guys you had a good New Year, good holiday season, and now it's January. Cool.
Yeah.
It's kind of how it works around here. So, but I want to thank you guys for all the support, all the ones that Tinder Box at Easton. We've got a special cigar from them, from also our other sponsor, Altadis USA. It's the Romeo y Julieta Eternal. We'll get into the cigar a little bit after we talk about the bourbon. It's a more limited run from them, but we do thank Tinder Box at Easton in Columbus, Ohio. Stay tuned. March 16th coming up. Before you know it, is a Smoking 10 event.
Yep.
And that's going to be great. I've already got some special people lined up. Don't want to give away anything quite yet, but if you guys are able to make it, Columbus, Ohio, March 16th, Saturday, definitely stay tuned for more information and obviously ticket information as well. So thank you guys very much. BS Cigar Company, the gold and silver are available. Gold is made by Plasencia, and the silver is made by Espinosa Cigars. I want to get them both on the podcast in 2024. One of my goals is get Espinosa back on, Eric himself, and then maybe someone from Plasencia. We have not had anyone on from that company since we've done this. We smoked plenty of their cigars, but no one from the family or no one from the company. So we'll see what we can do there. But thank you to the sponsors, you guys as well. Patreon.com/Bourbon and BS podcast or Venmo at Bourbon and BS. All the support definitely helps get this show on the air for you guys every week. And we appreciate that continued support there. So continue that. If you guys want to do a one-time contribution, again, Venmo at Bourbon and BS. You can also support it and also look good doing it. Buyjack.com/Bourbon and BS for any of the shirts. I've got old school hoodie that's not available, but I do have a one of the 3/4 sleeves under my many layers here. Shawn's rocking we call it the Nicaragua colors, the blue and white, the BS Cigar Company hoodie that comes in a couple different colors. Nate's got a prototype I did a long time ago. So basically the only one that you can really look at right now is Shawn. If you want this sweatshirt and look that good, buyjack.com/Bourbon and BS. All right, stop it. All right, enough. Calm down. Settle down. Settle down.
Sorry, man.
Settle down. It's cold. It's January in the Midwest, so we are in for a true winter, I believe, coming up here. So we'll be looking pretty bundled up for the upcoming weeks. So bear with us there. Yeah, not going to get into the whole story, but if we do get cut out tonight, the internet hopefully will be fixed by next week. Okay, it's been an ongoing process.
Breeze line sucks.
Don't say that because we're using it still.
Yeah.
Don't say anything bad about Facebook. I'm about to start going live here now that we're through the sponsors. If I can do this here on Instagram as well for an hour. See what happens here.
Yep.
So don't say anything bad about Zuckerberg. Already said too much.
Hey, I got the notification.
Wow.
Already said too much.
Somebody's gonna be knocking on our door in a minute.
Yeah. Some men in black suits. Anyways, we should get it fixed. It's been a pain in the ass. We're remedying this situation, hopefully. But make sure you share, like, and review, all that good stuff. Comment. We got a lot of people tuning in right now. Cheers to you guys. With the we are drinking tonight Wilderness Trail High Rye Bourbon bottled in bond.
Yes,
it's
a mouthful.
Just rolls right. The bourbon or the name?
Yes,
both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and then the other one is the weeded. So the Wilderness Trail weeded,
nice though.
Bottled in bond,
nice.
or bourbon bottled in bond.
Legs on that.
Yeah.
And then there's the rye bottled in bond. Then there's the barrel proof rye.
They've got a ton of options out there, and the bottles all look fairly similar in my opinion. So you really have to, there are different colors on some of the labels. There's different, obviously, branding on it. I mean, as far as the which, I mean, it's clear. It's right on the front of the label.
So the high rye is going to have this black band portion down towards the bottom of the bottle. The weeded is going to be more of a yellow color, and tradition. The ryes, both ryes are going to be green labels, but at the very bottom print down towards here, one will say bottled in bond, the other one will say barrel proof. So
yes,
just got to keep your eyes open.
You just got to keep your eyes open. I've liked the products I've had from Wilderness Trail thus far, but I've not had this one. So Nate, tell us a little bit about, if you know what you know, please, about this bottle, about Wilderness Trail. What are we sipping on this evening?
So Wilderness Trail's a fairly young company. They've only been around since 2012. The two owners did quite a bit of research and asking around for tips and industries on how to do this kind of stuff. They'd done fermentation stuff before, but they hadn't run their own distillery and whatnot. So it started up in 2012. This is one of their core products. This one and the weeded bottled in bond are pretty much their two main staples. They do about in their rick houses. They have about 250,000 barrels of the weeded and about 100,000 barrels of the high rye.
Okay.
We're drinking.
Okay.
That's both the weeded and the high rye are 64% corn, 12% malted barley. The weeded's going to be the 24% wheat. This one's going to be the 24% rye. So everything else is the same. They're just the percentages are all the same. They're just swapping out that one grain.
Okay.
I can't say last year, late 2022.
2 years ago.
So only 10. So only
it's fucking terrible that.
Only 10 years after they started the company, the two owners sold 70% of the stake in the company.
Wow.
To Campari, which is one of the big boys.
You did 10 years into it, right? 2022.
Yep. So they started in 2012.
Okay.
2022, they sell 70% of the ownership for $420 million.
Yeah, but I mean, they probably had like 415 into it or something. Jesus.
And then there's a clausal condition in the contract that by 2031, Campari has the option to buy the other 30% for a grand total of $600 million.
30% of the 600 or 30% of what it might be worth at that point.
So
they've got 30% ownership and it grows.
So at the time of the purchase, the company was evaluated at $600 million.
Understood. And they sold 70% of it.
Yes, for $420 million. And then Campari can buy the other 30%, which at that time was valued $280.
Does it say where you read it up on? I'm just saying, just curious. Like, is it like you have 30% ownership and it was evaluated at 600 million? So in 10 years, it could be valued at $1 billion. So do you have 30% of $1 billion? When I think percentages,
no, yeah, that's a good point. I would imagine if the company continues to,
I still own 30%.
I still owe 30%.
Yeah.
30% shares. So I mean, like, what are you going to do at that point? You know, I mean,
stock if it's going to go up.
Unless they're,
why wouldn't you just sell it for the whole 600 mil? It has to be percentages. Otherwise, you would have just sold it.
Yeah,
right.
Sold all 100% for $600 million.
In my mind, that makes sense. You know what I mean? You wouldn't keep 30% of a company and then like, you know what? 10 years from now, give me the other 100 and whatever mil. That'd be fine. 280. Give me that 280.
Or no, yeah, 180.
Well, you give it to me now, and then I'll try to grow that money, or you keep growing the company, and now that's going to turn into 500. I mean, that's the way I see it happening there. It's the only thing that makes sense to me. Wilderness Trail. When we were saying Wilderness Trail, I don't know how it popped up. Have you guys ever seen, and sorry to everyone out there to have to put up with my brain, but National Lampoon's Loaded Weapon?
Yes.
It's been a minute, but yeah.
Just the way you were saying Wilderness Trail, it reminded me of Tim Curry saying Wilderness Girls in National Lampoon's Loaded Weapon. Do you guys remember that at all?
No, I
No,
don't.
jeez, never
I
mind.
remember a store called Wilderness Trace from back in the day, and every time you said that, I kept thinking of that. It's like a camping store.
Makes more sense. I think that's more relative than what I thought.
It's okay.
Just saying.
Yeah.
They were hiding the drugs in the Wilderness Girl cookies. Remember that? No, nothing.
I pretty like that.
It's a classic one, man. It's classic.
This is one of those that they do say that they produce it in small batches, which anyone who has done any reading or looking into the whiskey industry knows there's really no legal definition of what a small batch is. It could be 2 barrels, it
Quite
could be
varying.
2,000 barrels.
Yeah.
Well, they come out there and say we do it 18 barrels at a time.
Oh, so it's very specific what they
18 barrels at a time, and the barrel staves are air dried for 18 months before they're turned into the barrels for their product.
Yeah.
Wow.
They do, so they're pretty open about the information that they have.
Nice. Did you say what the mash bill was on?
Yes.
This? What was it again? I'm sorry.
So both the high rye bourbon and the wheated bourbon are 64% corn,
Mhm.
12% malted barley. The other 24% is either wheat or, in this case, rye.
Okay, so it is a high rye for sure.
It is a high rye.
Yeah, 24 for sure.
Yeah, it literally says it. Like if you look at the OHLQ website, if you look at the price tags that are on liquor store shelves, the full name is Wilderness Trail High Rye Bourbon bottled in bond.
So, question.
Which Steve got tired of typing, so he just put BiB.
It's not going to fit on the screen.
I know, exactly.
Question for you, Nate.
Sir.
So I noticed with this has really good legs. When you drink it and you look down, it's like it's the viscosity. It's very dark. Is that contributed from the rye itself, or is it just
So
what comes up with the, what the makeup is?
So part of that's going to come down to the proof of it.
Okay.
The lower the proof, the more water is in it, and obviously you're not going to have it hang on the glass as
That's
much with more water.
Look at that.
And even though this is not age stated, they do say that the barrels are 5 to 6 years old.
Interesting.
It's got a great flavor.
Yeah,
I mean, that was the
it's really
first thing.
good.
I waited to light up the cigar, and it's got a great flavor.
Oh, and the other thing about their barrels, they are toasted and level 4 char.
Interesting. Yeah, it's got that a little bit of spice, but there's what is this? The flavor is kind of like a I'm gonna sound nerdy, what am I? I'm gonna say this, and you tell me what it is, Nate. But what you're tasting, it's like a higher pitch maple syrup, but not like it's like
It's super sweet.
sweet. It's like but it's like I don't know. There's something else there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's not like this real. It's got good legs. It's got good viscosity, but it's not like the deep like maple syrup. It's like a lighter. So I say higher pitch. What do you tasting?
So like a sugarcane syrup.
A little bit, yeah.
So kind of like the syrup you get at Cracker Barrel, where it's a 55-45 of maple syrup and sugarcane syrup.
That's amazing that you know that. Did you know that, Shawn?
I did not.
How do you know that? Are you a big Cracker Barrel guy? Are you
It's been a long time since
like
I've been to
the
Cracker Barrel.
golf
He's
tee
probably got the
game?
golf tee game on his desk.
But
Probably
you could
stole
just
it.
solve that like a
Probably
Rubik's
stole it.
cube.
Yeah, you're a genius. You have one left. So he's
If you
probably-
keep doing it, you already know. So are you a
Yeah.
genius? You're just really
You just memorize the pattern.
You're just
Yeah.
bored. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, I didn't know the ratio of the maple syrup at Cracker Barrel, which is a great national chain. I don't know if it's international, but I mean that's a great tough spot to hit on a road trip. You want to.
Yeah.
It takes a little more time, you know what I mean? That quick stop turns in about an hour and a half, and then you got to just let it digest in the rocking chairs.
There's a Cracker Barrel north of Indianapolis that saved my hide on a trip back when I was a cigar rep. I was coming back from Minneapolis, and I had left my hotel at like 8:30 in the morning, and I'm getting close to Indianapolis. It's about 10:30, 10:45. I stop at a Cracker Barrel, and they seat me, and they're like, "Oh, by the way, we close in like 20 minutes." And so how they have like the little picture frame like on the table that shows like one of the specials.
Yeah.
So I literally told the lady, I was like, all right, give me this, a cup of coffee, and a cup of coffee, and it's a go cup. That was it. And
what was the special?
Some fruited.
You don't remember that, but you remember everything else about this. What'd you eat?
Well, it was like fruit on top of waffles or something. I mean,
Okay.
and it was
Barely
out.
tasted it.
It was out in less than 5 minutes, and I just shoveled it in. Drank that. Basically did the cup of coffee as a shot.
What time was their bathroom open till? Because I feel like after that, before you hit it, I mean, the coffee and the carbs, sugar.
Yeah,
You figure they're gonna do some dishes after it closes.
it's
Yeah.
it's like
You guys will be here a while, right? Because I'll lock up. It's gonna be a minute.
My bill was
I got
like
a long road
my
ahead.
bill was like $12,
That's a good deal.
and I threw the lady at 20 and got in my car and got home at 2:30 a.m.
You know, it's interesting, and I noticed, and it may be like all cities, but like with Columbus, there's one on 71 North, 71 South, 70 East, and 70 West.
Right.
They're always on the outskirts on the major interstates.
Mhm.
Wonder if that's like that
For the
with
people
most-
that are traveling through.
Yeah, it's like most probably big cities have it like that too. I'm assuming it's probably their target.
What do you guys? What's your take on the clearly used rocking chairs that are being sold?
That's a ripoff.
Well, I mean, they're nice, but I'm just saying, like, how do you know how many like rocks it's had? Like, that's like mileage. You know what I mean? Like,
They have
there's
a
wear and
rockometer.
tear.
There's a rockometer on
But
there
I'm just
somewhere.
saying, like, the price tag I feel like is for a new rocking chair, and clearly that's not a new rocking chair
Yeah.
because there's always someone sitting in them.
Well, maybe they have some in the back.
Do you really?
No. they
Think-
don't
What
have-
kind of overhead do you think a place like this
Bullshit.
has?
I think these are valid questions. Can you talk them down?
Mhm.
Clearly, this
Like
one's
a-
been sat in.
Tell you what, throw in the
Like a floor model TV at Best Buy or something?
throw in the giant checkers set, and you got yourself a deal.
Yeah, Cracker Barrel. Yeah, that's the flavor. So circling back, Nate. That's it. Like more of a sugar cane maple syrup.
Mhm.
55-45.
What's the proof again?
100
55-40.
bottled
Oh,
and bond.
Yeah, we did say that. Sorry.
Yes.
I was expecting when I first took a sip.
For a brief recap, bottled and bond can only be at 100 proof. Has to be at least 4 years old. Come from one distiller in one distillate season, which is either January through June or July through December.
I noticed that usually when you have a darker bourbon with the viscosity and legs, you're always expecting like this huge burn at the end, and there really wasn't, which was pleasantly. It was smoother than I thought it would be. So,
Are you getting any different flavors? I mean, I know I kind of threw out a weird one, but I think that's what I'm getting. Maybe like classic molasses and
yeah, I think more of that. And I was trying to I haven't done the cigar and then that yet, but I'm going to see what that does too with the retro. Speaking of which, with this cigar, this retro has a little bit of kick to it.
a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's almost a little bit of a mintiness because of that high rye. Like just
What was
on
that?
Sean, why'd you give a thumbs down over Steve's head?
I
It's
did.
it's the don't worry about it. Don't worry about that. Stop. He's gonna get the fireworks going here in a second.
I'm getting the laser light show going.
Sean doesn't know about that.
Mhm.
Oh,
You were saying before the thumbs down.
Well, no. So Sean had asked about the color. So part of that color, again, you've got a number 4 char. And toasted. So,
Great. And we're back.
and welcome back. The difference between those two. So toasting the barrel is going to
Goddamn
be
internet.
a lower temperature, but
Mhm.
for a longer duration.
Mhm.
Okay.
Char is going to be higher temperature for a short period of time. Number 4 is typically going to be that alligator char. That's usually there's no set agreed upon time and temperature in the industry.
Right.
But yeah, so the toasting it is going to kind of caramelize those wood sugars a little bit, and that's going to give you more of that vanilla and caramel note that you might pick up on.
Yeah.
And then that toast or the char definitely is what's going to give it a lot of color.
Mhm.
But you'll also get some of those deeper brown sugar notes from it.
Yeah, I think I get a lot of that too. Brown sugar.
Brown sugar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Loving it. Touching on the cigar, we got Josh Bentley on the feed right now. He's not going to join us live. I didn't think that far ahead, but we are smoking the Romeo y Julieta Eternal. This cigar was released 2021. This is unfortunately a small run. This is a limited run cigar that they put out in 2021. They really started diversifying their portfolio from Romeo y Julieta between working with AJ Fernandez and also Plasencia. This is made by Plasencia. And this was,
nice.
This is Raphael teaming up with them and putting out a product here that is just, it's interesting knowing it's from Plasencia. They don't really release a whole lot of information other than it's all Nicaraguan.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a medium bodied cigar. Josh did throw out here that it is a 6-year aged wrapper out of the Plasencia Vault, originally released 2 years ago. Like I said, he thinks they're smoking beautifully right now. I agree. Still available if you can find it. I know that Tinder Box at Easton has a handful left, not many, but this is going to be something that I believe is still available from Altadis. Yes, I agree, Lou. That kind of makes the eternal name a bit ironic.
Yeah.
Josh. Coming from your father-in-law there.
No, it's Romeo and Julieta. Their love is eternal.
So
It's a terrible
this,
story, by the way.
it wasn't that their love is eternal. This was, they got a little carried away. I'm sorry. Josh, I apologize. I think it's a great presentation. These come in boxes of 11.
Okay.
Okay. They come in a box of 11. 10 of them look like what you have in front of you, I believe.
Yes,
right?
with the red foot band.
The red foot band, the black on the
Primary band.
And then the 11th has a gold band. I appreciate what they're trying to do there, but they had a whole story in there, and that this was to long story short, to signify the eternal bond between Romeo y Julieta and their cigar passionate smokers.
Nice.
It is nice.
It's very lovely.
Nice set.
How does it make you feel, Shawn?
Verklempt.
It kind of hits you tugs you on the old heartstrings,
A
doesn't it?
little bit, yeah.
Sorry, I didn't have the gold band for you. I feel like I
What's the MSRP on these?
should have. You're coming in. Let me see. I know we're selling them for, I believe it was about 17
Yeah, I thought it was about a $15, $16
MSRP, if I can find
depending
it.
on where you live, state taxes and everything.
This one doesn't have it. MSRP. Shannon says romantic. I agree.
And Ray's got the vomit face.
And Ray, who has no heart or soul, just mad.
Yeah.
You can find them, it looks like, at hopefully your local brick and mortar. Also, possibly you can find them at some sites that have them still, but I would definitely check out your local brick and mortars before you do that. We might be losing the internet again because I can't do this. Cool. But yeah, so it's around 50.
Hey, there. Looks like we're back. Jesus. Yep, like we said in the beginning, that's kind of what we were afraid might happen. Yeah, that
I swore I'd never murder again.
see, that's why you don't make promises you can't keep.
Like I said,
I need to scoot over closer to Nate. Hold on. Let's see. Try bringing everything up here.
hey guys, it's painful for us too. So, as we were saying, Nate, the eternal Romeo y Julieta, before we go out again, is limited. It's good.
It is limited edition, but it lasts longer than the internet.
So here's the thing. I'm going to run you guys through this while we probably go out again, just so you guys know what we're dealing with.
Talk fast. Talk
All
fast.
right. So we have what's Breeze Line Internet, which was WOW, and that's going to be the third largest, I think, provider in the country. Okay. So I'm going to have a little bit of a rant here, trying to get like Dennis Leary style here.
Oh no, please do.
No, had it for a while. It's been
I didn't do that.
getting worse. Had someone out, relayed the line, had some more problems with the internet. Then you had, let's see, I got to get this all right here. Then having more problems, came back out. They cut the little like connection, said that it was burnt because something with it was still suited for like old school cable, like with the premium channels like HBO and stuff. I don't know what year that was.
Wow.
And then so he did that. Fine, everything's good. Mind you, I had a 12 to 2 appointment with that one. He called me at 11:25 and said, "Hey, I'm at your house." I said, "Well, I'm not there right now." He's like, "I know, I'm early." I'm like, "Right, but you didn't tell me you were early." I mean, this is the type of service that started this. Then it got to the point where I was chatting with people. They did the resend the signals, all the normal stuff, went on for about a week. Then I called someone or chatted with someone. I said, "Please just send me a modem, a new modem router." And that's where we're at right now. Problem is, they sent me just a modem, not the Wi-Fi router. They just sent me the modem, so I had no Wi-Fi. So then I had to get back a hold of them, and they said that I can't see what equipment you have. Can you send me a picture of it? And I said, "Are you kidding me? Because this is your job." Eventually, they sent me a new Wi-Fi router, plugged it in. Service has just gotten worse, as we're seeing tonight.
Oh.
So then I called Spectrum, got a hold of them. Yesterday, they sent me out new equipment, signed up, paid the first bill. I hooked it up based on their instructions, called them, and they said, "Well, let me run through it." I said, "Is there a problem that I had another service going and then I just plugged yours in?" "Oh, yeah, we need to send a tech out for that." I was like, "Why didn't you have that as an option?"
When signing me up.
That is the calm, short version.
Yeah, I heard the other version.
You heard, thank you. So let's hope we have a at some point here, boys.
Oh,
And we're back.
That was short. All right.
and we're back.
It's slowly getting less worse.
I hope you guys are enjoying this. I know I am.
That sounds
priceless.
Like,
At this point, I think someone's just playing a joke on me.
Yeah. There's somebody out back just going,
Yeah.
There's a little gremlin in the router.
Back but fuzzy. Should be clear now.
You're fuzzy.
So let's get to the ratings.
Quickly.
Of the internet?
0.
Yeah.
Can there be a 0?
Yeah.
Can there be a negative?
Sorry, I wasted your time because I didn't realize how valuable it was on the connection here. But what do you guys think of the cigar? We haven't really been able to get too far into it, but I enjoy the cigar.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I kind of understand what Romeo was doing a couple years ago because they came out with a few, Altadis came out with several cigars, a couple in the Romeo line, one in the Upman line, where it was like a significant jump in price compared to what their normal stuff seems to run. Like you have the Upman Day Trader, you have
that came late. That was 2022.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you have this Eternal. There was the Book of Love, which is another one kind of around this same price point.
Correct.
So it's kind of like taking, hey, if you like, the Romeo stuff, like, hey, here's, something a little bit different. I like that they're working more with some of the stuff with AJ and Plasencia.
Yeah.
Because, you kind of expect
Thinking she's
Shawn, put your pants on.
Oh, sorry.
Jeez. And we're back.
Whew.
Saying that a lot tonight. Nate, what were you saying? Do you remember?
it's been a while. No, I like what Altadis has done with some of their brands, and coming out with a higher price point. Like, hey, if you like our regular stuff, here's something a little special, limited. We're going to a couple of the biggest names in the industry, using their vaults of tobacco. 6-year wrapper on this cigar. That's not something that every company is able to put out there. Probably one of the reasons why this cigar carries the price tag that it does.
Sure.
For me personally, I don't think this is one I'm necessarily going to go back to often. Well, obviously because it's limited, but go
ahead and do your ratings along with this while we have.
Yeah.
Okay. So cigar, I'll give the cigar an 8. It's a good smoke. Maybe if it was a lower price point, that might bump up. It's a good smoke. It doesn't necessarily stand out greatly for that difference in price, but still solid smoke. For the bottle, I'll give the bottle an 8 as well. I think for what it is, it's very complex. It's got a lot of flavors going on.
Yeah.
The finish is vastly different than the nose or palate on it, which is interesting. As far as the pairing, I think they go fine together. The whiskey's got enough sweetness to kind of hide that spice initially, and there's not really much spice with the cigar, so it just kind of elevates some of those tobacco notes that are in the cigar a little bit more with that sweetness. So I'll just be 8s across the board. How about that?
What are you, Shawn?
Make it short.
Yeah, I like cigar as well. I always do have a sip of the bourbon and then do the smoke and then vice versa. I noticed when I drank it first and then did a retrohale, it kind of took out the pepper that it was on the retrohale and more of like a toasted oat kind of a flavor to it, which I actually thought was pretty good. But yeah, cigar, I would give an 8.5. I do like it. It's I like I call it the journey, where it's a lot stronger at the foot, and as it burns more, you get different flavors. So I do like that. This seems to be getting better as it goes, further down. The bourbon, yeah, I like this. Usually when you get something this dark, you expect it to burn and have all the Kentucky hug you can imagine, but it's really not, and it's got a good like Steve said, like a maple-ish. I'm getting more brown sugar as well, but I'll give that an 8.5 as well. And the pairing, I'm gonna do an 8.5. I think they seem to complement each other when you would do like a hit and then a drink and then a hit and cannonball it. Cannonball. But yeah, I do 8.5s across the board.
I'm right in the same ballpark as you guys. The whiskey, it is more like, it's thinking about all the things we talked about with the for me, it was like a lighter maple syrup. You brought in that sugar, sugar cane from very specific example of Cracker Barrel, which is a great story. I'm glad you made it on that trip home years ago. But it's almost like, I think you say, imagine like pancakes that have like a brown sugar or like a cinnamon toast crunch type seasoning on it, you know what I'm saying? And then you pour maple syrup on it. That's what I'm getting out of it's very almost like not dessert like, but like breakfast dessert.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the flavor I'm getting from this bottle. So I know we're going to have several glasses of it, but I do think that this is very enjoyable, and I'd say it's fairly unique. So I'll give it an 8.5 as well. What's the price on the bottle again?
In the state of Ohio, $47.99.
So you figure MSRP below 50. That's
when this first came out, though. This was like a $60 bottle.
Interesting. There was a lot of hype behind this when it hit Ohio shelves. I remember that.
Yes.
So it's gone down in price.
Yes.
Interesting.
This is one of those that there are certain names out there that are very well known in the bourbon world that called this distillery the next Buffalo Trace.
So let me ask you this, based on the timing of it, this came out in Ohio, 3 years ago, something like that?
I don't remember when it hit.
Got bought 2 years ago?
Yes, at the end of October 2022.
So they pumped in a shit ton of money into this distillery. That might have been able to bring the price down a little bit.
Could have, especially when
the resources. Now, I don't know if the quality, we didn't have it when it was before that. I don't know when this actual product was released, if it was 3 years ago, whatever. But I'm just saying this distillery has been around, you said, for just over 10 years.
Since 2012.
Just over 10 years. And a couple years ago, it got a huge flux of money from one of the big boys.
Yes.
Nice.
So I can't believe how many barrels you said there were. It's insane. I couldn't imagine.
Yeah, and they have several rick houses. There's 100,000 barrels of this in their rick house.
Insane.
That's incredible. So it should now at this point, be Bottle and Bond 4 years old.
5 to 6 is what they say is in this, but it has to be at least 4.
Correct.
But
Yeah.
they say this is 5 to 6 years.
So it could be growing, as far as that goes, and that brings on the price. The cigar for me, I'm 8.5 on that. I think this is a great limited release. I love Plasencia's tobacco, the Nicaraguan stuff, especially. I believe this was a very nice expression from them. It's a shame that it was limited. If what Josh Bentley was saying from Altus USA, what he's saying is true, which I assume it is that it's a 6-year-old wrapper leaf that was from their vault, which sometimes you think is a little bit oversold when they say, oh, we got access to their vault. That does mean sometimes that this was a smaller yield of wrapper. So the wrapper leaf is a smaller yield. So with that being said, now you're not going to necessarily have the ability to make this a regular production cigar. You could do like we talk of other smaller companies a lot of times, they'll do something like this and they'll get good feedback, and then they don't keep calling it the Eternal, but they'll release it under a different name on your portfolio. Because, all right, so we did this, we have the filler tobacco combo, we have the binder leaf in plenty. Now we need what wrapper leaf can we use? That we have more access to. That's sometimes how they do it. So who knows? Maybe you're going to see more Plasencia stuff coming under either with Altus, you can see it coming under the Romeo name, Monte Cristo, Upman. There's a lot of, they've got a huge portfolio that they could actually see this cigar. Maybe won't be a staple at that price point, being a Romeo, but maybe this is something you see under a Monte Cristo name going forward. Maybe you see this under the Trinidad name going forward. Something where it's, you can't say, all right, now Romeos now cost $15 when your Monte Cristos are costing $15. Now, what's the differentiating, price point factor there between two of your own brand names? So
I do like the construction on it too.
Construction's great.
Yeah.
The combination, though, the pairing on this, I really have enjoyed. I mean, I think this is a great combo. The flavors are very complementary of each other. Like Shawn, you're saying going from the cigar to the whiskey to cigar. I think I agree with you there, is that I think you're getting some different notes, but overall very complimentary, because, I think, Nate, what you were saying and what I'm hearing with the price point, you want to be a little bit more wow factor. And I think this cigar is solid construction, solid flavor profile, straight medium for me. The retro does bump it up a little bit as far as I go, especially in the beginning, but just a wonderful blend, I think, from Altus and Plasencia there. And maybe I'm a little biased because I do like Plasencia Nicaraguan tobacco just in general. I'm a fan of that, but there's a reason for that. So really enjoy the comp. Some good time just because we're trying to get through the
And we're back. And we're going to part 2.
Oh, that was short.
If only we could do like commercials during the, you know what I mean? Like the internet goes out and just like automatically airs this podcast break is brought to you by Shawn Wilkinson. Shawn wishes you a happy new year and looks forward to very prosperous.
Kiss your ass, kiss his ass.
This loss of internet service is provided to you by Breezon.
Oh, we are getting slap happy because we are all frustrated. So
Shut the fucking door.
All right. Oh, cool. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Happy Whiskey Wednesday. This will be a fun one to edit for the audio.
Yes.
Stay tuned, if you will, for part 2.
And 4, 5, and 6, and then 7 and 8.
Oh, boy.
Oh, no. The absolute worst was that first time Eric Espinoza was in the garage.
Oh, I know.
Oh, yeah.
And it wouldn't even let us, it would just cut out. Like, it wouldn't let us keep the feed going. So at least
this keeps the feed, yes.
Knock on wood.
Yeah. That one, we had to, because we weren't using StreamYard, it was Facebook. So it was literally a new feed every single time. And like each one was like 2-3 minutes.
It's really cool. Also, Instagram still has us going live somehow. Wait, no, I see Nate's hat. No, he's had his. I've got a hat on, so maybe it didn't. Maybe there it is. There's my bald head.
Oh, that's a good one, Lou. They should change their name to Freeze Line.
Nice.
I feel like we're going to piss them off even more. So I just want to keep this real positive here for the night.
It's 9:00. Like they're not going to do anything.
They're not
now.
up. They're in bed now. That's why it keeps fucking going out.
They were in bed at 3.
Based on the accents of the people I spoke with,
Yeah.
they are up.
Well, they're not.
They're probably having lunch right now.
my one of my favorite conversations when I first had this process start is I was talking to someone, and in the background I heard children.
So
there was a
someone
crying baby,
working
and I
from
said
home.
that. I said clearly, and I was because I'm a little direct sometimes. And I apologize constantly. I'm like, I know it's not you. I'm hoping this call's monitored, which just makes me feel better. But it's like, I said, with all due respect, I can hear how important it is to be able to work from home for you. So please understand my frustration.
Oh,
That if you had these connectivity issues, that you couldn't do your job.
And they go, we don't use Breeze Line. We use something.
We don't have Breeze Line in my country. Like, oh, perfect.
What I use is way more reliable.
You should use Spectrum. Welcome back to the Bourbon and BS podcast, everyone. This is episode 299, sort of, part 2. We are still live-ish with you with our internet connectivity issues. Hopefully we'll be remedied. Sorry, I couldn't get them remedied beforehand, but it was not without effort. And, yeah. Happy New Year, guys.
You too.
Happy New Year. So with the topic tonight, so this is where we do a little bit different. The first part we were in, and again, we do apologize. We're trying to make the best of the situation. The first part of the episode this time, we are drinking Wilderness Trail. This is going to be the high rye bourbon bottled in bond. And like the bottle a lot. If you guys are just tuning in, scroll back or hit part 1 on the audio and listen to what we had to say along with all the unplanned breaks in the feed, but we appreciate it. We're also smoking the Romeo y Julieta. This is the Eternal. It's made by Placencia for Romeo. It's a limited run, but this is still available. It's out in the wild, so if you guys can get your hands on it when you can.
Yep.
I want to thank our sponsors for putting up with us as well. Tinder Box at Easton. Still a handful of the Eternals left at Tinder Box at Easton in Columbus, Ohio. Altadis USA, who makes this cigar. We also have a Monte Cristo White Series, for part 2 here. But since we kind of went through part 1 quicker, we are not there yet. But thank you for the continued support from Altadis USA. BS Cigar Company, the gold and silver are available. The gold's also made by Placencia, and the silver is made by Espinosa Cigars for BS Cigar Company. Those are also available at Tinderbox at Easton. And Tinderbox can actually ship out to you, a little more old school, no website, but definitely some shipping going on. So if you guys need to order from your brick and mortar that is not near you, but you want to support a brick and mortar and shop local-ish, check out Tinderbox at Easton in Columbus, Ohio, where this show is based out of. And also the Smoking 10 event will be March 16th, coming up in about 10 weeks only.
That's crazy.
Unreal. It's going to be here before you know it.
No shit.
We've got some guests already lined up. I'm very excited about it. We're going to see where we go here. We might even be able to put a hell of a lineup together as usual, but already a couple of big names that I cannot expose yet. But there is at least one new who's who that's going to be attending the 10 event this year on March 16th. So, and no, I can't tell you guys. I'm the only. Eric will be there. That's not a new one, but he made sure to plan it. So yeah, Eric's going to be there, and we're looking forward to that. But also, yeah, patreon.com/bourbonandbs for all you guys out there that are going to continue to support us. We appreciate that. And then also, obviously, if you want to do a one-time contribution, Venmo at bourbonandbs for services like Spectrum, for internet connectivity. Hopefully, we'll have a better experience with that going forward, and we appreciate. Hopefully, we'll stay alive for you guys tonight on the feed for part 2. Yeah, buyjack.com.
iron prototypes.
Spectrum. And we're back.
Short and spread.
Welcome back to 2.1.
It's like a bad Saturday Night Live, like Wayne's World, like community access here. And we're back. Buyjack.com/bourbonbs to look like Shawn the best you can in that beautiful blue sweatshirt hoodie. Yeah, that's nice.
Word.
Exactly, word. Part 2, we're going to be talking, we're touching base with Shawn Wilkinson. The topic is, and Nate, we kind of talked about this. I don't want to get too far into it, but I mean, we'll see where it goes. Last year and new beginnings. I want to say this. We've had, so the big Charlie Creekmore swing. I like that. And Tim Dodge, thank you for the support. I know you're far away now, but always great service at the Tinder Box. I appreciate that. Love getting some cigars out to you. Last year in New Beginnings, we had some feedback from people about the topic for part 2 tonight. And a lot of it went back to the new year. It was, what are you going to do differently in 2024 that you didn't do in 2023? We had some, let me see if I can pull those up here. There's very kind of similar stuff. Kristen liked Bobby's suggestion, and where was it here? Oh, Cindy says in 2024 she's going to learn that I can't trust everyone and give them the benefit of the doubt. Protect my heart from hurt. I'm looking at this new beginnings. We always talk like new year, new me. Shawn, you've got some news, in your life that you've been had a up and down 2023. I know you've shared a bit about that, from behind the camera, but now you're on camera here for this episode when they can see us. And but I think new beginnings is one thing, and I'm going to phrase this because one of the things I was thinking about is over the last week or so with the holidays and with the new year, I've had some people that are like, yeah, this is going to be like, I'm going to get in the best shape, normal stuff, which I admire. I'm going to get the best shape that I have been in my life or in a long time. I'm going to get back in shape. I'm going to get back on the diet. I'm going to be, those types of New Year's resolutions. This is going to be my year. And I, look at what Cindy says, I'm going to protect my heart a little bit more. I haven't heard that as much. And then I also hear people that are like, yeah, it's just another day. What'd you do for New Year's? I just, nothing. Just another day. And I wanted to, and not going to get dark with this, but I think this is a concept that if you knew that this was your, and this is not about me, I have nothing going on, but if this was your, it's like, all of a sudden, like, phone starts ringing, like, what's going on? If you knew that going into this was your last year, if you knew this was your last year, New Year's Eve, and you knew that, 2024, somehow you knew, whether it be whatever the circumstances is, this could be like a Netflix movie, you know what I mean? I can see that. But you knew this was going to be your last year. Would you celebrate New Year's differently? Or what kind of mindset would you have with some of that? Would you change that? I'm not saying that this is the last year of Earth, that everyone's like going down, that you're like, fuck everything, fuck the job. Like, I'm saying like this was, you knew this and no one else did. How would you celebrate? And how would you go into this year? So new beginnings, that concept, I don't know where you guys want to take this conversation, but I liked that concept because I think sometimes if you just look at it as, oh, it's just another day, are you appreciating life like you would if I told you, December 31st, like this is your last year on this earth?
I would, for New Year's and New Year's Eve and celebrating that, to me, that's for that particular situation, that wouldn't be as much celebrating as it would be like taking every day is almost a celebration, knowing that it could end at any time and try to make the most of what you have in life, which is what we all should do. But I think it's when you have even if you didn't know and you have a life-changing experience, which I've done that quite a few times, it definitely puts perspective. Things that you used to worry about and fret over were no longer existent in your mind. I wish I could keep that all the time because it allowed me to stay present, focused, and appreciate what I had.
Let me tell you, let me rephrase that. I literally like, this is like, so December 31st.
Oh, that was,
I'm telling you, like this is, and I'm taking, like, as you're saying that, because I appreciate what you're saying. I'm saying even further, if I was to tell you that, I'm not saying you're invincible, but I'm just in that concept is that like December 31st, 2024 at midnight.
Oh, is my last day. Oh, okay. It wasn't
the spaceship's going to take you away. I don't know, like something like,
yeah.
You might live your life celebrating.
I think it would also depend on when I would get the news. Let's say right now, then I would be.
We're celebrating. Say we were celebrating like the 1 year we were in here, having a drink.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Few years ago.
Yeah.
Say that was the situation, and I looked at you. And I'm like, Shawn, this is your last. I'm not threatening you. I'm gonna kill you on the 31st. I'm saying like, yeah, no, you're welcome. I'm saying like, hey, this, or you get that call, like, hey, you have.
Yeah.
We have an angel come to you. I don't know. I don't know how this comes to be.
I think
at least it's a leap
I mean,
year.
honestly, I think realistically
366 days left.
Well, -3.
I think the obviously if you get that kind of news, it's gonna you have to like process a little bit. So I think it's gonna
New Year's Eve celebrations off.
I mean, well, the 365 days from at the end of that where I was leaving, then I would have time to prepare, and it's almost like you kind of go through the stages of grief. And I think I would be shocked at first, but then just try to make every day live like you were dying, literally, just like the song, because it. And I would do whatever I could to celebrate life, but then just let people know that I love them. And I, funny you say that, because when I had that brain surgery back in '99, there was a part of me that felt that way, and knowing that I may not come out of it, and that made me really realize how important life was. And I wrote letters to my family, to my wife, and stuff for my eulogy, and I was prepared, and but I was also at peace with it. I just kind of looked back at what I did in my life and did the best I could, and enjoyed the time I had before I had the surgery, knowing that life was going to change one way or another. But I was very accepting, and just I was in the moment a lot more. I was more like sitting with my fiance at the time, or wife now, but those talks we had every night before we went to bed just were that more in depth, and a lot more like I look back at those, and they were some of the best conversations I've ever had, because I knew that may not happen a few weeks from then. So, everything I did, whether it was with my fiance or my wife or my friends, it was like every moment I had, I just cherished those simple things, the simple conversations. I can remember where I was sitting and where I was standing in certain spots with my dad when I talked. Him and I had a heart-to-heart by ourselves, and like I'll never forget those times. And
do you still have that, or do you think does it fade when you don't have that mindset?
It fades once you get through whatever you're going through, and you feel like you're on a back to normal life. It's easy to fall back into the same bullshit, worrying about things that really aren't that important. I wish it weren't that, and sometimes I do my best to try to kind of reset and regroup and do that. And but I don't know, man. I think it's kind of where I'm at with it.
So, and Nate, get to you as well, but Charlie's listening. He says, get the bucket list out and start checking off the boxes. I'm one that I don't necessarily have a bucket list. I can appreciate, the idea of a bucket list. I think sometimes that's a different concept also. It's like you have a bucket list. It's like, are you ever going to get to those? When are you going to get to those? When do you start the bucket list? Obviously, this would be a perfect time if this was the circumstances. But, the bucket list, for me there's some things that I'd like to do in life, but it's not like a necessity, which I guess is not really, I don't know. The bucket list idea is you want to do that stuff, live like you were dying, like the song, Tim McGraw. I mean, I agree. I want to skydive and all that stuff. Definitely not on my bucket list. Skydiving.
You can do that on the last day.
I don't think I would. I mean, again, I look at this, for me, and then, Nate, I'll get to you and anyone else out there that wants to comment on this. But for me, it's not necessarily, I appreciate, Charlie, what you're saying, the bucket list thing. I think I'd probably not do a lot of those things, because it wouldn't be necessarily about doing things on this earth that I haven't done for whatever reason, that I want to just experience, or, really like go, see different parts of the world. That'd be great. But for me, it's more the people. Spending time doing things that I know I enjoy. If I'm like, okay, I want to take a 80 days around the world in a hot air balloon. What am I missing in those 80 days with the people that I want to be with?
Yeah.
You know, so Nate, what do you think of this whole crazy topic that I've got out there
So for
that you
me,
didn't really want to do?
so for me, I still have to consider, I'd be leaving Jess behind. So I need probably the first 6 months. I wouldn't do a whole lot different. Like I'd still go to work. So that way it doesn't, create a financial struggle within the household after I'm gone. Like, well, it's not my problem anymore.
Yeah.
So I'd probably still
Blow your savings.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because it's not just about me.
What was that? Say that in the microphone.
Coke and whores. That's all you got, baby. Whole year.
Jesus.
Like
Yeah.
I said, it's about who you're with, right?
Yeah,
You know, that's really what I think Sean's trying to say here is that it's not about what you're doing, it's about who you're with. Nate, continue. Thank you, Sean.
Although Sean saying that gives me an idea.
Teresa, if you're out there, Happy New Year.
No, probably the first 6 months, not do a whole lot different. I mean, I know Jess and I have a trip scheduled at the end of April, so that would still be on.
Where are you guys headed?
Lexington.
Nice.
And so I'd still do a lot of the same things for at least the first 6 months, and then after that, be like, okay, now what are some things I can do or we do together that would be a fun experience for the two of us that also wouldn't, set her up for financial hardship afterwards. Because you can't just sit there and say, oh, I'm going to spend, my last 12 months on earth just sitting there, blowing through bottles of whiskey and cigar after cigar, hookers and blow, as Sean said. And all of a sudden, you pass away and there's no savings whatsoever in your household, but other people still got to live on. So but then
in your scenario, would you rather Jess know or not know?
Oh, I would not be able to tell her.
Yeah, same.
Because
what if you couldn't?
Oh shit.
But
and follow up here while you think about that.
I would want her to be prepared for it. All right.
Sure.
Congratulations, honey. You got 12 months to get prepared for it because it's coming.
Yeah. Congratulations. This is it. Then you're free. No, I'm just saying. Like, if you couldn't. All right. So if you couldn't tell, this is just on you. No one else knows in the world that you have 365 left and you're going through this year. Or just a frame of to look at it, I guess, from a different perspective.
Well, hold on. Let me ask a follow-up to that.
Pass that bottle while you ask that.
Let me ask a follow-up to that. After I'm gone.
I like how I'm just making up the rules.
After I'm gone, will she find out that I knew?
Ooh, yes.
Okay.
Yes, but you can't tell her.
She texted me. That's super depressing.
So, I'm sorry. I'm hoping for some positivity out of this exercise. Honestly, I really am.
So
this is all based out of the fact that when you ask, about the New Year's, and everyone's like, "It's another day."
So I would definitely do some things to be more attentive, more. I'm trying to think the word, how to say it. Definitely show more attention, more appreciation, the acts of love kind of thing. So that way, those are some of the memories, the freshest memories that she'll have.
Yeah.
And then when she finds out after the fact, she'll understand why I was doing some of those things.
Yeah.
Because I knew and she didn't.
Yeah.
And so because then she would sit there and go, okay, he knew this was coming. And so he started doing these things
sense, right?
Because he wanted to make it easier on me, enjoy the time he had left with me, that kind of stuff.
I think if your significant other or just friends, people around you knew, they're going to treat you differently. And I don't know if you'd want that, is I guess my point of that, right? You'd want it to be as pure as possible. Maybe you could tell them the last week, whatever.
You don't want it to necessarily influence how people treat you.
Yeah, because then, I mean, it's to the flip side of that. If your significant other was the roles were reversed, would you want to know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You probably would. But if they just started acting differently, would you truly just
That'd be tough.
appreciate? But if you would just appreciate the fact that maybe they're
I think she would
a
definitely.
bit more attentive, a
Yeah.
bit more. They're not saying they aren't, but I'm saying just even more so.
I would even say too, and I'll say this because, you know, talking to Teresa when I was going through all that shit with my brain
Mhm.
tumor, I wanted her perspective. And I think she suffered probably more than I did in terms of the emotional and mental side of things, because I was more like, yeah, it's happening to me. I got to deal with the process of the surgery and everything. But to have someone that you love knowing that they're going through a procedure or anything that
That's a tough. Hey, back.
that's that it could she, but the other side of that, and when you love, you had bandage wrapped and that she was it. I almost fainted. So that's a whole different mind fuck right there. And you know, that's something.
So there's the toss up there of whether or not you would want them to know or not,
Yeah.
right? Because you don't want to see them go through that aspect of it.
Right.
You take the burden on. That's hard. They don't want you to take the burden on, all that stuff. I did want to, again, we're going in and out here. So let me see if I can find it, if it's on there.
Yeah, people are getting depressed.
Jess brought up a good one. Like,
No, it's I get it. Hang on.
Oh.
Sorry. This topic is so depressing. You're absolutely right. No, it's again, my whole point of this, and I'm sorry, we've been doing this so long where it's always to the audience and trying to keep like this is a topic I think as a thinker.
Yeah.
I truly think it is. It doesn't have to be depressing because luckily at this point no one's in the situation, right? So this is something I'm trying to, and bear with me here, people, on this. And I like Shawn, who's normally the one that is saying some of these things that you read. Shawn Anderson, not Wilkinson.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, fellas. Damn, I'd spend it getting rid of any grudges I may be holding, forgiving people even if they don't deserve it, and making sure those I love have access to all the information I've learned in the world to make sure they can go on without it. For those that know Shawn Anderson and his comments normally, this topic and exercise is working.
Yep.
And going back to also Kristen, thank you, Kristen. Back to Bobby's topic, that was what I mentioned earlier, which was, are there things in 2024 that you didn't do in 2023? How would you do it differently, right? So I'll pull up exactly what he said, because again, I'm sorry that this is the way my mind works when I read these comments, and how can we put a spin on this that's going to have a little deeper conversation about it, which I think we've had. Sorry to depress you guys, not only between us and I think there's some of the moments of silence that the internet's providing, I think might be also bringing this down a little bit if you're bearing with it. And we're like middle of what you were saying, Shawn, and all of a sudden it goes back to the Bourbon and BS logo.
Yeah.
That's got to be tough. I get it. I mean, we're still in it. What you might do differently in 2024 that you didn't do in 2023? And that's where, Cindy had commented about, being a little bit more careful with her heart, from being hurt. I think this is something, and Shawn Anderson, again, part of this exercise. And Shawn, thank you for being out there in the community out here. But, he had said, I never liked these. It implies I spent a whole year doing something wrong. And the real dinger is it took you a year to realize it. That's kind of where I'm reading some of these comments. And I think, from what Bobby Hirschman had said, what you might do differently in 2024 that you didn't do in 2023, I took it as, how do we frame this into a frame of mind that it's not just another day? It's not just like, what Shawn Anderson says is not just something that you did wrong necessarily, but it's what would you do differently? What will you do differently in 2024? And I started this conversation in part 2, even amongst the internet breaks here, to you guys here in the garage, and you guys are listening out there, is let me throw a fucking weight on you to frame this in a way that most people don't think about.
Yeah.
But to think, what are you going to do differently this year? You know, what's your New Year's resolution? Let me just kick you in the nuts here and say, no, you have 365 days to live.
Yeah.
How about now? Answer those questions, because I think sometimes you don't have to look at it so seriously. However, I think sometimes we wait until the bad news comes to really reflect on things in an impactful way that impacts your life and impacts people around you more. Because if you have the mentality, nothing wrong with it if it's a good day. If you have the mentality that, no, it's just another day, that's on you. It's on your significant other if you have one. It's on your family if you have one. You are just getting through it, and you look at it, it's like, do you want to take a moment to celebrate? Do you want to take a moment to maybe do a little bit more? I'm not saying you're doing anything wrong, to Shawn Anderson's point that you did a whole year of something wrong that you need to do it differently. But what are you going to build on? What are you going to do? Like to Bobby's point, what are you going to do differently in 2024 that you didn't do in 2023?
And I get Shawn's point about, like, you know, why do you have to wait till the new year to make changes? Why not make changes when you realize that a change needs to be made? I get that. I think the thing that Bobby was trying to get at with the idea for that topic was, you know, sometimes we need a date on the calendar that causes us to think about it.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about that on a lot of
we've talked about that when it comes to some of the holidays, like you know,
Valentine's Day was one, you know,
Valentine's
Thanksgiving,
Day, Independence Day,
Memorial Day,
Memorial Day.
yeah.
You know, it's like, you know, we sit there and go, oh, you know, we should have these thoughts and these feelings throughout the year, but sometimes we get just caught up in everyday life that we kind of forget it. So there's a day on the calendar that all of a sudden reminds us, like, oh shit, this is something I need to be thinking about more often. I think that's what happens a lot of times with New Year's. It's not, you know, we've talked about that in the past. Like, don't necessarily wait until January 1st to start making changes. Yes, when you realize a change needs to be made, do it then. But sometimes it's helpful to have that day where what's the talk of when it gets close to New Year's? Making New Year's resolution. Like, that's all you hear. New year, new me, all that bullshit. But it's that conversation that starts happening around you that sometimes forces you to start thinking about it because you weren't thinking about it.
And I think a lot of people will start bottling up a little bit too. And they're like, you know, I don't like New Year's resolutions. And it's like, I don't really have a New Year's resolution.
Back.
And we're back.
And we're back.
Can I
go ahead? So,
question about doing something different. Little pedals.
we're back.
All right. So real quick, I'm going to say real fast, work as I can.
Micro machines.
So with Bob, you know, Bobby's question or his topic was I was kind of thrust into something now where I am doing something completely different. I was approached about changing my career about 6 months ago, and over that time they kept reaching out to me, and it was something that I was thinking about, but really wasn't, because the company I was with I was happy with, but it kind of fell into my lap. But it's something in aviation. You guys know, most of you guys know I do aviation for, you know, private jets, chartering people. I start a new job next Monday where I am still in a dispatcher role for private jets, but we're flying organs. The company that is bought a charter company, they invented these boxes that keeps the organ alive for up to 12 hours instead of the normal 4. So when they take a heart, the box will keep the heart beating. Same, the lung will keep breathing. They purchased this charter company that wants to dedicate their fleet to transporting these organs and stuff. So they wanted to have kind of an all-star team of dispatchers and schedulers to come on board and kind of run it. So they kept pursuing me, and I was happy, but the offer they gave me, I just couldn't turn it down. And what I do like about the fact is that it's going to be changing for me is I'm not dealing with rich people that want to fly from A to B. This is transporting organs to save a life. To be able to come into 2024 and be a part of saving someone's life by taking an organ,
providing a greater purpose.
Yeah, exactly. And to be a part of that. And to me, that's a very rewarding to know that like there's things out there that are saving lives. And as tough as it is, I mean, you got to give and you take. Unfortunately, people are going to pass, but the organs that they donate to keep other people alive, I've known a lot of people that have passed that have saved a lot of people's lives. And it's just the most incredible thing. But to now be an integral part of, getting a plane to pick up the organ and then take it to someone who's been, and their whole family is anxiously waiting, is such a, to me, I think it's going to be rewarding for that in itself. So to be able to change my whole direction and by staying in the same industry, but being able to help and be a small part of that, I think for me, it's going to be way more rewarding. As much as I love and I'm excited about doing it, I am heartbroken to be leaving the company I'm with. It's not that I didn't want to leave. It just, this company that came to me was, very adamant, and I just couldn't pass it up. But I have nothing but love for the company I just left, and I will miss them dearly. Hell, I wrote an email to everyone pretty much crying last night, telling how much I cared about them and how much I'm going to miss them. But this is something in my career, and they're all understanding this is something that's going to further my career and allow me to make a difference in the world. And that's kind of what I've always wanted to do. So,
well, I think there's a lot of us out there that whenever we step into a role, Kristen says, congratulations.
Yeah, I'm just hard at it.
Whenever when we step into a role that actually we see a benefit of helping other people, like it gives us more satisfaction about what it is we're doing. We care a little bit more. There was a big difference between like when I used to do door-to-door sales versus then when I was working in the office assisting sales reps. There wasn't as much connection to the actual customer because I wasn't talking to the customer. And then when I went to the billing department, there was even less of that. Like, hey, I'm the guy responsible for sending you your electric bill.
Yeah.
Like,
you're welcome.
Not quite the same as rerouting flights with organs on it.
Exactly. Yeah. But
just a quick.
Why are we comparing dicks? All right.
I mean, we're not going to win at this point. Figuratively. I mean, this is a metaphorical measurement, right? We're talking about here.
Yes.
I don't know why you had to take it there.
But then when you,
congrats.
But like the point I'm trying to make is like when you're doing something where you don't necessarily see the benefit, to then make a change, like Shawn said, he's helping rich people book private jets, to Florida or California or to the World Series or Super Bowl, wherever that, like, congratulations, you have, tens of thousands of dollars to burn to go see a sporting event. Good for you. But then all of a sudden you make a change. It's like, okay, now I'm using those same skills, the same knowledge, but now I'm doing something that I see more of a benefit to everyday people.
So here's the question, Shawn, and everyone out there, right? So if the money was the same and you don't know about this organization, I mean, you know about this organization, so there's a wild card. I'm not going to put you on the spot too much.
Sure. And
Chris out there, are you answering that? It's the high rye bourbon bottle of bond. Thanks for tuning in. But if everything was the same, right? So you don't know about this company, and you know about your previous, and you love the previous company. Obviously, you had some emotion leaving it. Is it the pay? Is it the, it's. I think time will tell.
Sure. Yeah.
But it's the fact that you have the skills. And I think it's something that with the new beginnings, and this is going off obviously last year, and I appreciate that. I mean, it's the new beginnings is that sometimes you make the decisions in life is that, you have the comfort of the surroundings, but you have an opportunity to do something better in your mind, which is what you're talking about. So you're not flying. And I'm not saying that not going to defend or need to defend. Obviously, we're flying, as we keep calling it, rich people to sporting events, whatever it might be, or to family or their vacation homes. That keeps the economy going. There's a lot of benefit there, obviously.
I'm not, yeah.
But I mean, obviously, if you're flying a vital organ to save someone's life, I think we can all agree on, hopefully, that would be something that trumps the Super Bowl.
Sure.
At least for that person.
Yeah.
But I think that is it the pay? Is it the opportunity? Is it a combination? I mean, how do you make that decision? Because I mean, again, you don't want to necessarily feel guilty. It's like, it's the same pay. I'm happy where I'm at. I'd rather, I don't want to. I mean, that's a tough one because I think there's maybe a calling there too.
Well, that's why it's
extra pay helps.
Yeah, and there is extra pay, but they were pursuing me for a long time, for like 6 months, and I kept kind of saying no, but they kept coming back to offer me more money, but then like a better schedule. And I think those are the two big things, because when this first all went down and they called me, it was like this company that I'm working for, they purchased this charter company, and it was a shit show, because they were trying to, like, when you purchase someone and you try to, you have a way of thinking of how things should be operated, and the operator themselves have limitations as to what they can do. There's going to be some growing pains, and there still is, but there's a little more things that are established now where it's a little more fluid. But I think the big thing was, like, I was saying no for a while because they wanted me to move to Boston. I was like, no, I'm not doing that. And they're like, all right, well, what about this? And I'm like, name your number. And I'm like, okay. And then
Which puts you out of your comfort zone. I know you.
Yeah. And I wasn't, and that wasn't the sole reason, but it's also, there's a schedule that would be a lot better for me and my family. And, and the fact that the job security of this company that's hiring me is a multi-billion-dollar company that has, this trade in the stock market and everything else. So there's some job security there too. Not that where I was working at before had any issues, but the minute the stock market takes a shit, like it did in 2008, hell, half the charter companies went out of business, So
well, you talk about how much the charter company struggled just during COVID.
Right. I mean, I was laid off by a company. But with this, no matter what the economy is, you're still going to have people that need organs. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And to say that, I maybe put it down like, oh, rich people, that's what I cage you, but I've been doing this for over 20 years, passenger charter. And it's not that I don't, that I'm kind of like, when I have to compare the two, it makes it sound like it's bad, but I've dealt with a lot of people that I've met over the years that fly and that are passengers, and they're very nice people. And then I've developed relationships with, and, to be able to help them with a sick child that needs to get from A to B, we do stuff like that too. So there is rewarding parts of that, but I just think this is an opportunity for me to grow and to go further and to learn more, and to, there's the possibilities are endless, because it's just starting up, and it gets my foot in the door when things are still in that process. So
I think you touched on something there. And again, that's where I was trying to put that question out there, is that it's never an easy choice when it comes to something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, again, it's because there's people out there, all the time, especially these days, that it's like, oh, you should have taken a pay cut to be in this type of industry versus flying rich people around. And it's like, well, there's
Still take care of my family.
There's a cause, but then you touched on it. And that's what I was hoping you would do, Shawn. Talk about the schedule, your personal life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's a lot of factors that go into these big life decisions. And I love the fact that this timed up with the new year, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's a nice, because we talk about, the fact that the calendar is nice to be able to have a reminder to do that, but it's also I don't know if to you, but from a friend's perspective, as I am, it's a great clean break.
Yeah.
And the calendar helps with that, right? I mean,
Yeah.
It's a new year, it's 2024. I got a new job. I'm doing something that's, that you feel like you're helping people. I think sometimes that you can celebrate that, whether it's middle of the year or it's the first of the year. But I think it is fun to have that new beginning right now.
The one thing I will say too is, before I even decided to take on the new job, is as I talked to my CEO and my direct boss, and who one of them, Dan, he's actually maybe still watching, but I've known this guy for years, and I love him. That he's like a brother to me. And I talked to them both before I made a decision and said, this is what they're offering me. This is what they're doing. And they're like, listen, we understand we are going to miss you, but man, this sounds like a great opportunity. You should go for it.
Love that response.
You know, so the fact, and he was even like, listen, we've been knowing each other, you know, we work together, we haven't worked together because our paths will cross down the road. I can almost guarantee it. And everyone has wished me the best, and as sad as they are, they're also happy for me. So it's not like I burned any bridges. And
that speaks volumes about the organization.
Yeah,
you're
and
parting ways with.
They're amazing
that's
people.
They're willing to let you go.
It's a great response.
Yeah.
Oh,
It
absolutely.
was. But I made sure I talked to them before I made any decision to say, this is what I'm dealing with. What do you think? And that was a huge reason why I decided to take the job to begin with.
Well,
So,
and it's fortunate that you had the kind of people in the organization you worked with to be able to talk and discuss that with before you even made a decision.
right. Yep.
Like, there's something to be said about being able to have those kind of people that you can go to within the current company. You know, I can't think of too many people at my old company that when I was, you know, interviewing to leave there, that I could have actually talked to and been like, hey, this is what I'm thinking. Like, I definitely couldn't have done that with my manager or their boss. Like, there's a whole slew.
I think it's fairly common that's the case, right?
Yeah.
Your situation is very uncommon, which again speaks volumes for your situation.
Yeah, I mean,
and to you, honestly, that you
I
are doing a good enough job that you can talk to them.
Yes.
I think employers should be happy and excited. They should be just as excited and happy for you as you are if you are leaving to take an opportunity that you feel a connection with and you have a passion for.
Yep. I'm excited. And I usually it's, you know, when I've left other jobs, I'm just always like, oh, I don't know. This one I am, because because of what it is and what I can contribute. But the second, and just as equal, is what I just said. It's the, you know, letting me go and understanding there's no hard feelings and then they're excited for me. And I think that made a huge decision. And I know they would have never guilded me into anything. I figured they would be very supportive, but I also wanted them to know that, like, hey, I love you. And this is just something that I wasn't looking, it fell into my lap. And I think that, and like you said, that goes a long way, because I've left other companies and I went to put my 2 weeks in and they say, don't bother coming back.
Yeah.
So to have it like this is fucking perfect, you know?
I hope that is one of the best practices that we get out of the last, 4 years, is that there's less of that.
Yeah.
You know, I think there is something to be said about, it didn't work out, or it did work out, but I get it.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't want to keep you from that.
Yep.
We're going to miss you.
Yep.
But there's something that, you're going all in. You did it. You went all in here, and, they could have thrown you more money. They could have tried to make you feel guilty about it. They could have said, don't bother coming back tomorrow, turn in your shit.
Yeah.
Your login won't work tomorrow. But the fact that they didn't, I think that just speaks volumes, that you are making strides. And I like that. And I encourage everyone to continue to try to live that way, no matter what side of that equation you're on. Right.
Yeah.
Do it. Shawn, I appreciate you sharing a lot of that, because again, I think it's something that's something that we don't always, even in our everyday. I mean, that's kind of going back to knowing you as a friend, Shawn. Many of you out there listening, is that if you are, in a sense, doing the best you can and embracing what you're doing, these types of situations present themselves, and that's up to you. Yeah. Versus if you are just going back to the New Year's is just another day. Mm-hmm. That's your mentality on your job, the relationship you're in, whether it be a significant other or friends or whatever. Those when something else comes up, that you don't have the support, because you're just phoning it in. Yeah. I don't think that's a good way to go through it.
I remember there was one time I was
no, you didn't do that.
This was years ago. I was leaving one employer that I was putting in a good amount of work for. I was leaving one employer to go to essentially a competitor, another business in that same industry. And leading, from the time that business offered me the job to the time I told my employer at the current business, I was having this internal debate and argument, how's the conversation going to go? Are they going to ask me this? Are they going to ask me this? Like, they're going to ask me why, and I need to have an answer and be able to explain, like, hey, here's why I'm leaving. Like, here's why I think me going to this place is not only better for me, but, I think they do things better, and that's why I want to work for them.
Keep it the first part, but yeah.
And so I sat down with my boss, and I was like, hey, I want to let you know, like, I'm going to go work for this company. And they're like, all right, well, sad to see you go.
Lisa said that.
And I'm like, really? You don't care why I'm leaving? Because why?
So you wanted more from them.
Like,
I'm breaking up with you. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, it didn't work out. Wait, you've been feeling this way? You're okay with this? Like, that's what I just got from you. That's what I got from you. Is that you're like, it's not you, it's me. Okay. And you're like, did you want to struggle?
Oh,
did
no,
you,
it was totally them.
I know, but like, what were you looking for? I guess is my question. Sean's over here. It's like, yeah, no, that sucks. Like,
part of me was,
I think that you will do better, and this is a great opportunity, and you just got okay.
Part of me was looking for
that too.
part of me was
right, yeah.
Part of me was looking for a why.
My job broke up with me.
Yeah, part of me was looking for a why, so that way I could sit there and tell them, like, well, here's the things that I don't like what you're doing, and I'm going to go work for someone who I think does things better. And like,
yeah.
But at no point did they seem to care that I was leaving. And I'm like, okay, good luck finding someone else that's going to put as much work and effort into this as I was.
I get you're get it. So there's a couple things I want to follow up with. Are they still in business? They're still doing okay?
Still in business? Yes. Doing okay?
Don't know. Okay.
Maybe not.
Okay. Not your concern. Is there a tactful way to not wait until the end and kind of tying it back into some of the conversation we had before with just everyday life and all your relationships, professional or otherwise, is do you wait until things are beyond repair, or you're looking elsewhere, right? Or you're looking for a new opportunity when the whole time you've just been wanting to just have that heart-to-heart with that boss, or the heart-to-heart with the company, heart-to-heart with your significant other, heart-to-heart with your friend, and you're just like, I don't want to upset them. I don't think it's going to go well. So you ride it out until you have an exit. And then when you do that, they have that response, whatever the response be. But even if they have that response of the fact that it's like, okay, yeah, no, I get it. Like, you're right. Good luck to you. And the whole time, no matter be days, months, years, and you literally were just like, I want to tell my company, my boss, that I know what I want to say as I leave, but I don't want to say it now because not ready to leave, or I don't want to ruffle too many feathers. I don't want them to make the move.
I've done that.
I think it's super common, right? I mean, it's because you want to. And I guess my question to you, if you develop and nurture some sort of, if you can, a relationship professionally or otherwise, that you can be open in communication. Say, hey, I don't want this to be the end all be all. I don't want to be fired. I don't want to be broken up with. I don't want to break up with you, and I don't want to quit my job, whatever it might be. I don't want to talk to my friend ever again, and I don't want you to feel like you can't talk to me. Mm-hmm. But I don't want it to get to the point where we end this, whatever it might be, relationship. And I'm not just talking about like personal, I'm talking about professional too. Would there be some value there possibly that this could be a good situation we're all involved in? How do you do that?
Yeah.
I don't have the answer to this. This is not a loaded question, because Shawn, you're saying you've been in that situation. I've been in those situations. Yeah. And there's also times, like professionally and personally, that I wish I could reach out to that person and be like, now I want to tell you my piece, and it's too late. Yeah. They don't care.
I don't give a shit.
You know what I mean? And it's like, it's talking to a wall.
The reason I think another thing is why it's so hard to leave the company I just left is because there are times, in anyone's job that you're struggling, or you're hitting a wall, or there's issues, and that I would go to the same guys that I spoke to let them know I was leaving. And when I was like, listen, I'm struggling, I'm not happy. And, you know, my one buddy, Dan, was my direct boss. He's like, listen, dude, if you need to take a day off for personal because you have some mental issues or you're dealing with depression, he's like, do it. If you need to walk away for a couple hours, let me know. I got you. And it just made life so much easier. And then I would come back the next day refreshed and ready to tackle, because the fact that they cared enough to say, listen, we don't want to lose you because of a situation like this. Thank you for telling us. We're going to do whatever we can to help you. And, you know, in a previous job where I worked there for 10 years, I didn't do anything like that. And it festered and it built up. And by the time I left, me and the CEO were in his office screaming at each other.
You still feel it?
I still fucking feel. I can't stand it, dude.
That's not about. I want to read this comment.
All right.
If you don't mind.
Nope.
But you're absolutely right. And I think that's something that you've learned now in your life, that for better or worse, you could still, in this new venture at some point, you could have that where you now know how you operate.
Yep.
And you could walk in a year or 2 or 5 years from now and you have that. And they're like, all right, well, your login doesn't work tomorrow.
Well, that's one of the reasons. Another reason why I went is because the person that's going to be my direct boss is kind of the same way that my friend Dan was. She's like, listen, because I said, listen, I'm going to have days off where I got to go to doctor's appointments. I have health issues. And she's like, anything you need, let me know. We got you. We'll cover you. And I'm like, shit, fuck yeah, man. That makes life even easier to know that I'm going to go to another company that's just as understanding and caring.
Yeah. And so, you know, Nate, I saw your comment after, you know, Tim's.
You're fine.
And we had some comments earlier about the way I framed this topic. And, you know, I apologize. I feel like this is bringing it back a while back, where I used to bring up some, you know, topics based on what other people said. And I know it's not always the most positive, but I think
it's life, and that's what we do.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to block us all out. And that's fine. You know, Tim says not to bring the podcast down, but we found out earlier this evening a friend of ours from Ohio was taken to a hospice facility to live out the rest of her life. So there's people that are really dealing with all the thoughts and questions and emotions that come with end of life situations. As tough as it is to talk about, it's the reality.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for bringing it up this evening, Steve. We got to focus more on relationships, less on drama, and love generously. Tim.
Well said, Tim.
Our heart goes out to you and your friend,
no shit,
and everyone that's involved with that. So, again, I appreciate you saying not to bring down the podcast, but that's where I sometimes go into this a little bit unapologetic.
No, and it shouldn't be. It's not bringing it down. He's bringing up real life. You know,
that is real life, and I think that's where I tried to bring this conversation to. Let's learn from it, so that by the end of it, which is where it's kind of gone, and you know, Tim, you bring it back to that kind of focus of the last year. If you knew it was your last year, you had 365 days, whatever it might be. But if you were feeling fine and nothing was really wrong, but you had that diagnosis, you had whatever it might be, that you knew that you had a limited time, how would you live your life? And I think, Tim, you brought it in kind of a full circle there, is that the whole point is that it's not bringing it down. You know, it's like when you have those funerals you go to that brings everyone together. And it's more of a memorial versus a funeral. It's more of a celebration of life. Why wait?
Yeah.
Why wait? Why not? You know, why do we have to sometimes wait till something bad happens to someone we know? Why is it sometimes that you wait until the doctor says, yeah, your cholesterol's high, you need to start doing better? It's like, we all knew that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what you're doing is going to lead you down a certain path. So why wait for that?
Yep.
Well, I remember there was a stretch there where there were a couple of my dad's friends that had passed in a relatively short period of time. And, you know, so there was, you know, my dad, and he had a group of friends that they all went to high school together, and, you know, their kids, you know, we all hung out together. We all knew each other. We played on the same sports teams together. We went to school together, all that stuff. And then, you know, fast forward as adults, and, you know, a couple of them passed away within a year. And I remember going to one of the funerals, and someone had said the line, you know, we got to quit meeting like this.
Yeah.
And it's like, and it makes you sit there and go, okay, so are we going to meet? Are we going to meet outside of the funeral home?
Takes effort, right? You know?
Yeah.
You know, Sean Anderson says, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, and like, you know, we talked about it. We brought it up a month or two ago when the owner of a local cigar shop had was tragically killed.
Cheers to Brett.
Uh,
Rest in peace.
I got a call from a couple guys from that shop, and I'd been to that shop a couple times since he had bought it. I used to work at that shop under the previous owner, so I hadn't really gone back there much, even though, all those guys still knew me, missed those, hanging out with those guys. It was one of those where when I showed up and some of those guys saw me and they hadn't seen me for a while, like you could see the emotion,
right,
like come over them of like, oh my gosh, like you're here. Like, I'm so glad you're here. Even though we hadn't seen each other in a while. Like I said, I'd visited there a few times, not, obviously there's not going to be 60 people in that shop at one time. So not everyone's going to see me when I do
small
visit
location there. For those who don't know, Burning Leaf or now
Village
Cigars. It's small, very
it's
small. But anyway,
but
that's what the parking lot was for.
Yeah, exactly.
Go on.
But no, I mean, I went there and saw those guys and they were all happy to see me, and I was ecstatic to see those guys because I hadn't seen most of them in years. We kept in touch, through social media or through text and stuff every now and then, but there was something different about actually, seeing each other face to face and hanging out with each other,
yeah.
having a cigar together.
Yeah.
One of the guys, he's a Marine veteran, and the night of the service, it was actually the day after the incident happened. I found out early in the morning, and one of the guys called me and told me like, "Hey, we're having a little get together at the shop. If you want to make it." And I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it down because I have a routine in the morning. I get up so many hours before I have to be at work, and
sure,
I have a routine laid out. So I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it because that doesn't really fit in my mind. I didn't say this on the phone. I was like, that doesn't really fit into my routine.
You got your life going on.
Yeah. But then Jess, she sits there and she goes, "You should go. I'll take care of making breakfast and making coffee and doing all that stuff. You should go."
She was right.
And I was like, all right.
She was right.
So I just threw on some clothes, drove down to the shop, and I'm very thankful that I did. And, so I was seeing all the guys, and here's this, Marine vet, and, he's seeing some of the guys, and he goes to that shop. So all the guys that he's seeing, he sees those guys all the time. But he hadn't seen me probably since I last worked there. And that was in 2015, maybe 2016. And when he saw me, like he broke down.
Why do you think that is?
Because there was a relationship there that had gone dormant because we hadn't connected. And
yes.
And he was just so happy to, because it made him feel like it was the old days, the band back together kind of thing. No, it was just one of those tragic things that brought people together that hadn't seen each other in a while. And it was good for that group of guys.
You're right. I'm kind of thinking as you're saying that is I don't think that most people realize it's not just this day and age, but it is this day and age. I think that we're in this realm of, new year, new me. It's new stuff. I'm going to be better. And it's like, there's no shame in making everything about you. And I think that's where sometimes I think people get tired of hearing the New Year's resolutions or, oh, here we go. To everyone listening out there, you make a bigger impact on people in typically a more common, positive way that you don't realize what level of joy you might bring to someone just being in their life. And I think that we don't realize sometimes, because we're so bogged down with day-to-day life, New Year's is just another day, that you don't reach out to people and they don't reach out to you. You don't think about it if they don't, right? But when they do, it means something.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to think that it means something to everyone out there in your life that you make that call or text, or you make that visit. You know, you have that support, Nate, with Jess saying, no, you need to go. And all you were thinking, naturally, it's not guilt. You know, you're right. I probably, before she said that, you're like, yeah, I probably should go down there, but
I don't know if I have the time.
I don't have the time and all that stuff. And that's fine, because you have your own, thing going on. You have your own life and all that stuff. And it's not about making you feel guilty that it's like, well, someone lost their life and this should be more important. That's not what I'm trying to say here. What I'm saying here is that putting yourself out there and trying to, I guess, really celebrate the life that you have, but also in the same regard, making yourself present and putting the effort in to make yourself known to other people. And it can be as simple as not necessarily reaching out, but in this day and age, you can post a picture of something exciting going on in your life on social media. You can do something impactful for other people. You don't know who you're impacting in a positive way if you just keep to yourself. And I don't want to say that if you're just living your life and not really doing all that stuff, you're doing things wrong. But if you have any grain in your mind, a small speck in your mind that, like, thought about someone today, I thought about this, I thought about putting myself out there, I'm doing something exciting, maybe I should tell people about it. Do it. 100% do it, because that will not be known. There's no necessarily, sure, if you have personal gain from it, that's fine. Don't feel guilty about it. But at the most, I think if you're pure in your intentions, I think that you will have something more from it personally, which is important. No guilt there. But I don't think that we all realize sometimes that even if it takes a little bit of work, you sometimes have to put it out there.
Yeah.
And sometimes it is as simple and direct as a Happy New Year text to someone you haven't talked to in 6 months, 6 years, whatever it might be. I know you want to say something.
Yeah. And when I read this, I got to read something to you real quick. It won't take long. And kind of, what you're saying there is, I do the best I can to make people happy or laugh or whatever. And I just try to be, try to be kind and I do it. And I don't expect anything in return. I never do. I just,
comes pretty naturally to you, man.
And that's just how I am,
right.
So when I sent this email last night to kind of say my goodbyes, one of the girls that works there, I don't read the whole email, but
who's listening, I think, right?
She may be, I don't know if she is or
maybe
not.
it's
She
someone
could
different.
be, but she wrote in response to the thing. She was new to the one, like I was on a trip in Boston and she was there and she was rather new to her position. And that's one of the positions I've been doing for a long time. So I had to give her advice and just, comfort her and let her know she's doing good. And I had no idea that I had an impact until she wrote this. And she was like, it was nice to have someone to have real conversation with and vent to and bond in a way that probably wouldn't have gotten to otherwise. Thank you for hearing me and making me feel like I'm not completely failing in this position. It meant a lot to hear that reassurance from you. You've never failed to make me feel important. So I'm not here. I hate even reading that because I don't like to try to toot my own horn. But the point is that
People
even
need to hear that, though.
even though you do it the best you can and you maybe touch someone's life, you don't even realize it. And to see that makes me feel like that maybe I did something, I've done things right to try to help people know that they're important and they mean a lot to me. If you're my friend, I am going to be 110% your friend and do whatever I can to help. And my one buddy goes, you have a 6 p.m. friend, you have a 3 a.m. friend. A 6 p.m. friend is don't call me after 6, I'm busy. A 3 a.m. friend is you call them at 3 a.m. And if you have a problem, they're going to be like, what do you need? I'll be right there. And so I try to live that way too, to be there.
It's the town right there.
Yeah. It's like something about the whole.
Who's Kyle going to take?
Yeah. Who's Kyle going to take? It's exactly what I thought.
That's the best line in
Yeah.
that movie.
But-
That
I need your help. Don't want any questions.
can't ask me about it later.
We're
We're gonna hurt some people.
Who's Kyle?
Who's Kyle again?
Yeah. So
And
just because you
more
never hear
seriously,
it back.
Mike says, well said, Shawn.
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate it, brother. And I think that, you know, I don't hear that often, if at all. So to hear that meant a lot to me, and to know that I'm on the right track, and I will continue to keep doing that for people. So,
well, to build off of that real quick, off of what I said and what you just said, is that absolutely you should not only put yourself out there, but make yourself and your opinions and your feelings known. And when someone does impact your life, say thank you.
Yeah.
Because based on what
make
Shawn just said, the person that's doing those things, they don't know. And they're not doing it for you necessarily. They're not doing it for themselves.
Yeah.
They're just doing it because that's who they are. And maybe they are doing it for you, more importantly than themselves. But you never know when someone just wears out.
Yeah.
You know, someone living certain aspects of their life selflessly, that they just need that. They need a thank you. They need it's simple as that. If she just wrote back, that person was said, thank you for doing what you did. I truly appreciate you.
It can
That's
be energizing.
Something. What you just read is just, it's impactful the other way. Now all of a sudden you're fired up, you're ready to roll, you're ready to be like, I got to keep doing what I'm doing. And she's fired up, and she's like, oh man, this person's inspired me and all this stuff. And now all of a sudden you got two people that are fired up, and now all of a sudden you're impacting other people, and she's impacting other people, and all of a sudden everyone's winning because all you did was fucking say it.
Yeah.
All you did was actually put it out there.
Yeah. Well, good friend of mine, Josh Henry, he's watching right now, and he was the one talking about the 6 p.m. and 3 a.m. But the reason why he brought that, or we even talked about that, is because he texted me up out of the blue a few weeks ago and said, hey, I've been thinking about you. Let's have lunch. So we had lunch and we talked, and we hadn't talked in a while. And just that simple text of, been thinking about you, man, it fucking meant the world to me. And I'm like, let's fucking get together in the next week and let's have lunch and let's, reconnect. And that's what we did. And that it's such a simple thing to do. And it goes such a long way. It's funny how, and it goes back to what I said before about how you get caught up in your own life and the trivial things. But when it's something as simple as sending a text or a quick email to let people know how you feel, definitely inspires me to want to continue doing that and do it more often. So thank you, Josh, and my friend Robin, who was on it, sent the letter or the email. Thank you. And Andrea, I see you watching too, girl. I love you, and I thank you. She sent an email as well and just gave me really nice words of encouragement. So you guys are special in my heart, just so you know.
You got to say it, guys. You got to say it, folks. You got to say it always.
Yeah.
And even Shawn Anderson, still listening. I mean, he says, since calendar things seem important to some of y'all, since Valentine's Day is coming up here, here's some practice. He says angel and angle. I don't know exactly what he means by that, but it's fun to see people that are listening that, this does make an impact, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you're doing it. You're putting it out there. You're talking about it. You're telling, Andrea, love you, Shawn.
Yeah. Love you too, Andrea. Gonna miss you, girl.
I like the way this conversation went.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I was hesitant. I ran it by Nate, and he's like, "Oof," and I think it framed the conversation in a very positive way, which was the thought of it. Right? It's not necessarily. I know everyone's like, "Oh, I don't want to bring it down," or "This is negative," and all that stuff. But I look at it as sometimes you really have to take a deep dive into some thoughts and emotions so that when it gets back. And Shawn, one of the reasons I brought this up is because you were on tonight, and you brought it up as hoped that when you're dealing with your health issues and you thought that this was it or could be it, and all of a sudden life opens back up and things are looking better. Even people that go through it, it's easier when it's in your face.
Yeah.
But when it opens back up and you're like, oh, I'm not, this isn't it. I have another opportunity. You get fired. You go through a breakup. You get a diagnosis from a doctor. You're not feeling well. And it's like, this is it. This is the worst. This is the lowest point I can get in my life. And it's over. Whether it's just you feeling that way or it literally is coming to a close at that moment. And I feel as though that those are the moments that you really can either shut down completely or you have your biggest moment of clarity. I think, Shawn, you being on here tonight and having this conversation tonight, is the whole hope was, as I was thinking about this tonight, is that we live 2024 the best we can.
Yep.
Because we've all been through the last several years of very uncertain times, and 2024 hopefully will be better. More likely it'll be more uncertain times, but we have a better head on our shoulders.
Yeah.
That's the way I look at that.
Yep.
I know, Nate, you're in a good place right now with your job, and
Yeah.
obviously you and Jess, and Shawn, you're starting a new career. New step in your career. I'm not a new career, but new step in your career. Literally saving lives, which none of us can compete with at this point. Which we're not going to hold against you.
Small part.
It's fine. It's fine. No, it's cool. We know you. Everyone out there knows you, so we can say we know a guy that he literally is routing planes to save lives.
You're shipping life-saving organs. Steve sells cigars. I sell wine and liquor.
Talk about BS on an
days
internet
that
stream that's about to go out again. It looks like so.
But after days of dealing with stuff as emotional as it can be, I'm going to need to fall back on cigars and liquor. So you guys are a huge part of my life.
So you're welcome.
Yeah.
It's a full circle. We all play our part. Just keep your passion alive there. Closing remarks, gentlemen.
Okay.
And I appreciate everyone. Everyone that's stuck with us, that's been tuning in here and there, on and off, and we appreciate that. Hopefully next week we'll have a great connection and it'll be flawless.
Yes.
But it's going to be tough. I'll tell you guys this on my behalf. It's going to be tough to compete with this conversation tonight.
Yeah.
And I appreciate, Breeze Line doing everything they're doing.
In case you're listening.
To keep part 2, the signal strong.
Yeah.
So we had less
issue
drops
during part 2.
in part 2.
Yeah.
So maybe we weren't very entertaining. Maybe we weren't impactful.
More of an important topic than.
Yeah. Breeze Line, it's on you if you drop it off here.
Maybe we should start with part 2.
There's no way we can do that.
No, not at all.
Start drinking way earlier.
Well, by then we'd already be on the second cigar.
All right. Yeah, I'm not getting to the second cigar, which you guys have lit up, the Monte Cristo White Series, which is a fantastic, one of their best sellers. This is a tried and true. If you guys smoke boutique cigars, go back to the Monte Cristo White Series, because this is a smooth, enjoyable, flavorful.
Yeah.
When you say creamy,
polar opposite of the Eternal.
Oh yeah.
Shawn, Nate, let's start with you, Nate.
All right.
Sorry.
No,
Shawn,
okay.
We're not going to compete with Shawn, by the way.
No, so
saving lives. Oh,
no, when we first started talking about it, the whole idea of like,
sorry, go ahead.
When we started talking about like if this was the last year, Jess is sitting there texting me stuff, and it makes me think about other questions, and
she knows she can comment on the feed, right?
Like I had asked you, Steve, like, well, because you had made it a point in the conversation, like you can't tell anyone, and makes you think, would you want other people to know? And I think every single one of us would sit there and say there are some people we would want to know.
Sure.
There's a lot of people we wouldn't want to know because they would treat us differently, but not for the right reasons. Like, oh, you're only treating me this way because I told you you've only got this much time with me. Like, that's the reason you're treating me better than what you had been. Those are the kind of people you wouldn't want them to know. But then on the flip side of that, how lonely of a place would it be if you couldn't tell anybody, especially those that are the absolute closest to you? Like you said, I couldn't tell Jets.
Maybe these aren't closing remarks. Maybe we keep it going. Shawn and I both want to respond to that. The night's getting.
You can't. No, we're still early. We're still early.
Yeah, we're trying to keep it a little earlier.
We still got an hour left.
No. But we got next Wednesday. We can.
Yeah, But no, Jess had texted me. She's like, because she was looking at it from the other side, like how lonely would it be to have to keep that secret, that you couldn't tell anybody what you were going through because of the way it might impact how they treat you, or let's just say in this hypothetical situation, you didn't know and you couldn't. Like, but how lonely would it be to carry that burden by yourself? I think all of us have certain people in our lives that we would want to tell them, because they're going to help us. They're going to help us get through it, because it's not going to be an easy thing. It's not going to be an easy thing to do to realize, all right, December 31st next year. Thanks for picking that date, Steve.
It's your birthday. You can celebrate.
Yeah, going all out. Hookers and blow, right, Shawn?
Yeah.
I'm joking. It's a joke.
Jess, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's on that.
She knows better.
These two guys.
I
will not be at that party. I will not be participating in that party. I will be at that party, but I will.
Your loss.
Not. Never done either of those things, and I will continue to live my life that way, but I'm going to support my friends and be there for them. Not participating. And I mean that.
But no, I think
I'm not going to enable you, even though if you are.
No, I think the reason she posed that question, and said like how lonely of a place that would be, was she's someone who has the kind of heart that she cares for other people, and she wouldn't want them to go through that situation by themselves and feeling like they had no support.
Yeah.
Because anytime you get that kind of news or that kind of diagnosis, there are some people out there that will reach out because they want to lift you up and they want to help you get through it. Whatever through it means, whether it be the end or beyond it. There are some people that will sit there and they, just because of their nature, they want to help you. But then there are other people that, they'll only treat you differently when something like that comes up. And those aren't necessarily, I think, the people we give as much thought to, because of the way the dynamic of that relationship is. The people that are closest to us and actually help us and care about us when there's nothing in return, those are the kind of people we would want closest to us at the end. Those are the people that we would want to know.
I think that's who you'd find, though. I mean, I think hopefully the people that are important to you now would be those people. I get the guilt part of it, but I don't think it's a lonely place. I'm sorry. I know we said closing remarks, and I know, Shawn, you want to comment on this. And
real quick.
I just want to say this real quick, is that I think that's why sometimes there's those like help groups that are going through that you can absolutely get support from almost strangers that are going through similar things. People don't always, I don't want people necessarily reacting differently. I also don't want to keep it from them. I get what you're saying. I don't think it's a lonely place. It's only a lonely place, possibly, hear me out, is if you're currently surrounding yourself with people that won't respond well and will isolate you because you're acting differently. The hope there is that the way you're living your last year is that you will have that impact on people, that you are living, you have control. We always say this, that we're going to live our best year. If you can, this will be your best year, because you know what preceded it and nothing's following it. And I look at it as that I get the guilt part that you're keeping something from someone. And Kristen, if you're listening, I probably tell you, I'm sorry, not trying to like build this up, because I feel like tomorrow morning it's like, you wouldn't tell me. No, it's not that. I'm just saying, I think in the idea of it, is just saying something about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know it. No, I'm just saying, I look at this as that this is an opportunity to frame your mind that we're all sitting at this table, and the hope is that, well, the fact is, we know this is not our last year. Correct, Shawn, Nate?
Yeah.
God
willing.
There's nothing behind this beyond the fact that this is
die this year. It's on you, brother.
better live your life the way I'm talking.
No, I am.
No, God, I don't think it'll be as lonely as a place, other than just there will be a little isolation. But I don't think it's as lonely as a place, because if you're living your life in a way that you feel like this is how I want to live my best life, you'll be surrounded by the people that you care about. Hopefully, that are in your life going into that year, and you're going to end that year with even more people that you've impacted, that they're going to fill your life with so much joy. And I think that was the exercise. That's the idea here. I'm not saying go into it with this negative personality or negative woe is me or this isolated thing. It's like I am fuller of life because this is it.
Yeah.
And I'm saying we don't know our punch out date.
Yeah.
We're all like, I didn't get into the depressing side of it where you frame that mentality. The motivation is that we don't know. That's where the motivation is that January 1st, 2024 happened. Are you on a track that you are living your life in a way that you are going to live your life in a way
What were you saying, Steve?
Shawn, what do you think?
Okay, we're back.
Yeah,
And we're back.
back.
Welcome back, everybody. Real quick, I'm gonna.
This is the worst, by the way.
Yeah.
The internet is
Yeah,
the
it
worst.
sucks. The only two things I wanted to say about what you mentioned about like the people that would be acting a certain way if they knew. it could put their lives in perspective pretty quick too. Even if they acted like they were, maybe they're trying to deal with it too, like knowing they're going to lose you. So that's the only thing I want to bring up with that. The other thing would be tough about, yeah. And the other thing was not being able to say anything. Think of something when you're struggling and you want to say something, not just as severe as that, but like anything when you're struggling and you keep it in, it's 10 times worse. The sooner you get it out, the better. So
why is it worse though? Why do we, if we're going through a struggle, why do we not tell those closest to us?
Because we're probably afraid to bring out the suffering and show that you're vulnerable
or bring them down with us.
Right. But I think it's also living with a therapist and a counselor, and I'm going to one, is like, it's therapeutic as shit, because I've, in the industry and some of my friends around here, the dispatchers, pilots always get so mad at certain things, but they end up yelling at you or venting. But then I'm always like, do you feel better now that you let it out? Well, yeah, because it's something that's weighing on you. When you get it out, it's so much more therapeutic. Anyway, I know the internet keeps going in and out, so I'm gonna be quick about this.
Don't have to.
So my friend Robin's on. She just came on, and she was the one. Robin, I read the email that you sent me back to the goodbye letter and shared with what you said, and it meant the world to me. I never really responded to your email yet, but now that you're watching, it meant the world from what you said, and it's impacted me in a big way, and it's something I'm going to take and be able to continue to try to help other people as yourself, and I know you're going to do great, and I'm an email or phone call away if you need anything moving forward. I'm still a really good friend, and I think you're one of my good friends, and I will always be here if you need me. That being said, in closing remarks, I think with the opportunity that I was given, and looking at starting kind of a new year, 3 weeks ago, this wasn't even a thought. They came to me and kind of pushed the envelope and offered me something that I really couldn't, I couldn't pass up. And there was a lot of struggle with that, trying to make that decision. But knowing what I heard from Robin and some other people in my company, that they were so supportive of me, makes me feel so much better. So, and I probably said it sooner, but one of the things you guys we can all do is, let people know how you feel about them. Like we said earlier, if it's a simple text, a simple phone call, something as simple as, hey man, thinking about you, just want you to know that you're a great friend, or something like that. That shit goes so fucking a long way. And it's such a simple thing. It's such a very simple thing to do. Yet it's that whole getting caught up in the day-to-day bullshit.
Yeah, and yet we don't do it as often.
And we don't. And it's something that, it takes an email from Robin or a simple text from my friend Josh to make me realize it's like, holy shit, man. I mean, now I've got my eyes open to it. And, I think this year, if I'm going to, aside from the new job, I think, this new year, maybe a resolution is to make sure I let the people that are close to me know that I love them and I care about them. And it's something that's as simple as a text or phone call. And knowing how that made me feel, I'm sure they're going to feel the same way. So do what you can to set yourself a reminder in 3 months from now and say, whatever, reach out to a friend and say, hey, let them know you're thinking of them. It takes fucking 5 seconds. Doesn't take much. So just remember that. I love you all. I love everybody here. These guys are really good friends of mine, and we're here so much, but I think about you often. Don't do that. I think about you. I think about you guys all the time, and I'm very blessed to have what I have in my life with my family and my friends. So thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. I think that, Robin, I don't know you, but I think that was very, very, it was impactful to the point that it and again, you never know how it works, right? So like she says that to you, you read that, you haven't responded, now all of a sudden you shared that out there, and you never know what your words are going to mean.
Yeah.
Nate, do you have anything else to add? Kind of did the closing remarks, but then it kind of opened it up. You laid it out there. We both wanted to respond. I don't know if you have. You don't need to. I mean, you had some great words there. Not a challenge here. There's no challenge.
You don't have to.
No, I mean, I'd spend too much time thinking of the right words to say.
No, I appreciate that. All I'll end this with is that I appreciate start another year with all of you guys, especially here in the garage. I mean, you know, Nate, you've been with this and with me and friends for a long time, friends longer. You know, Shawn, same thing. You know, the fact that you're in the garage a lot of times, and there are times where people and the people around them, they don't even appreciate some of the outlets that they have. And I think this show is an outlet, and I can appreciate not only people that listen to it, that are on it, but the people that also, I've had some people, their significant others, say, like, I want them to go to the garage. I want them to listen. I mean, like, you know, you meet these people and they're like, no, they talk about it. Over the last several years, I've even met some people that are the significant others of people that listen to the show, and like, I know your voice because as I'm in the other room, I can hear him or what, you know, listening to this, you know, and they know the show, and I appreciate that. And I think that is what leads into 2024. And I appreciate everything that you guys have done in my life, and you guys out there in the audience, whether you're listening live, you're listening in the garage, you're listening in the audio. But the only reason we do this show is because of what we get out of it and what you guys respond to that. And I'm excited about my 2024 because, like Shawn, you know, starting a new job. Kristen moved in days before.
Congratulations.
Officially moved in.
Yeah, congrats, brother.
And there's going to be growing pains. There's going to be just anything that is involved in a relationship. And then you guys are both married, and we're very excited. I'm very excited. I'll speak for myself.
Yeah,
I'm very excited about this. And I know that it's going to be such a positive year. And it won't be easy, but that's where this is a session every week that I can get it out there, that I know that there's a lot of growth out there for me, for all you guys as well. So it's not about that this is my last year. Hopefully, you know, I don't know it, at least, you know, and you know, this is something that I want to make sure that I use this, and using that topic and coming up with like the spin on the comments, is that this was a lot for me, and I hope you guys got a lot out of this, because I'm tired of people being just dealing with
There we go. Got it. You're welcome. I did.
And I don't think that you should just put up with the everyday. And because if you put up with it and you accept it, and it's not enough, you need to make it vocalized. And I think that if your internet provider is not providing you, I mean, use this not literally to my internet provider.
It's a really good analogy.
I think this is a metaphor in life.
Yes.
That if you enter in to an agreement with another party, you expect something from them, and they expect something from you, and you give what you can, as if you're paying for a service, that you expect it to be a reciprocating thing. And I look at that as a metaphor for life. And I think that if you put yourself out there and you expect something from someone else, or you expect something from an employer, that if something's not going the way you thought it would, or what was agreed upon, and things are not being reciprocated, then you make your voice heard. And if you can't get something from it, don't waste any more time with that. Live your life. Make sure you're surrounding people that give you that service, and they provide.
Don't be afraid to leave if they don't.
Don't just breeze by the rest of your life. And sometimes you have to look at that spectrum and you have to really. I'm sorry. Guys, happy Whiskey Wednesday.
Right as we clink.
Cheers, guys. And we're back.